Thank you, Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Cantwell, for holding this important hearing, and of course for all the witnesses being here today. I appreciate this, Senator Blackburn talking about rural communities because we have a lot in Nevada, but I particularly want to thank this committee for helping get my bipartisan Building Blocks of STEM Act that I introduced with Senator Capito signed into law last year. When we passed that bill, we didn't know we would be facing a global pandemic that fundamentally changes the way we provide students with education. That bill was about breaking down barriers for young girls pursuing STEM education, facing implicit bias. But now, as Senator Fisher mentioned earlier, we are dealing with the technological barriers, which could place education out of the reach for millions of underserved American students. I said to Senator Blackburn, it's a particularly challenge in our rural areas. In a city like Elko, Nevada. It's a wonderful and vibrant community in the northeastern part of our great state. It is ranked among the top cities nationwide for the slowest internet speed. It's a list you don't want to be on the top of. And no city in Nevada ranked near the top, actually, for the highest internet speed. So Elko is not alone. 65% of our rural population is without access to high-speed internet, compared to just 5% of our urban centers. And so Elko, with a population of about 20,000, has made significant efforts to incentivize providers to deploy broadband to their community, for which its leadership should be commended. But to encourage providers to deploy, the city even dropped franchise fees to zero. But so far, it has still not received any offers from telecommunication companies. So I know that we're going to speak to this and what else, what can a city like Elko do if it has no takers from telecommunication companies? They need to improve their internet all around Nevada. We need to improve our internet in rural Nevada. What suggestions might you have for them?
Well, Senator, I'll start. Some of our carriers, especially in rural Mississippi and some of the areas that are very difficult to reach, have gone around and signed up government businesses slash pre-designated locations. And once you get enough of those interested companies and individuals to sign on, then they can see a business case to get a loan and actually build not only fiber but wireless or fixed wireless in there. That's one area that you can do it, one way you can do it without government support. The other is if we get broadband data mapping done, that would show up significantly as a hole or a gap, and we can target funds that are already available under the, I don't know, it's the 5G fund or the RDOF fund or even some of the existing Mobility 2 funds. Those are a couple things that you can do immediately, but I think it really is up to the local government entities to help identify carriers that are willing to take that risk to go in and build.
And Senator, I would also just add, in the spirit of thinking creatively, you know, one of the things about RDOF that I really like is that it is telling carriers who don't want to upgrade, who aren't willing to go to that next tier of speed, to basically cry uncle and say, all right, I'm not going to serve this area, and allow other providers to come in and do that service. So I think to Steve's point, you know, being able to get some of that support to do it will be important. But another thing that I'm seeing an interesting model is I've got a lot of areas where my local community-based providers are partnering with municipalities. Municipalities are able to kind of support the business model, and the local broadband company is able to then come in and basically provide the service. So I think we need to think creatively about what kind of partnerships can you create in a public-private environment that'll actually get the job done. And I think getting people to be open to those business models is going to be important.
If I could add to that, Senator, first of all, thank you for your question, because it cuts right to the heart of what we're here, what the FCC is working on, what Congress has been working on to achieve, which is 100% connectivity for all of our communities across the country. And the connectivity gaps that you referenced that we're seeing today, I think, are reflective of a few major policy deficiencies, not deficiencies in companies not wanting to actually deliver broadband, but because there are underlying and systemic policy issues. Let me just point to three. First is incrementalism. The fact is that we're constantly redefining in midstream through programs what is unserved. Is it 4.1, 10.1, 25.3? And as a result, we're never really being able to as efficiently reach those who still have no service. The second is funding. We've talked about this. We need to ensure that the recognition that delivering broadband is an extremely expensive proposition in our most remote and rural communities, and so a significant amount of money is required to get the job done. Well, let's meet that challenge, and let's do it today. And the third, and Steve Barry, we've talked about this, is the indispensable input that mapping and funded mapping would deliver to ensure that we are spending these resources with the accuracy that's required to reach the truly unserved. Not where broadband currently is going, but rather to know where it is not going. And if we can solve that problem, and it is in your hands to be able to do that through appropriations, I think we will be much further towards our goal of 100% connectivity.
Thank you, Mr. Spalters.